Well, our keynote today, he's a good friend of mine. We go back at least a half an hour. So our relationship has been just full of good times and blessings. Let me tell you a little bit about our keynote today. He played for the Saskatchewan Roughriders from the years 2007 and 2008, and he tells me for 4 years before that he played for a team in Toronto. I've never heard of him before, but that's what he says. I'm not sure. He's been married to his wife, Kaya, for 10 months, so if he has a smile on his face, you'll know why. And also, Kaya will be joining us at noon. After you grab some burgers and drinks and come back and enjoy, the kids can play. Kaya is going to be sharing some music with us, and both her and Michael are going to be sharing a little bit from 12 till 1, so we look forward to that time. Please welcome with me Mr. Michael Palmer and his wife, Kaya.
All right, how's everyone doing today? How's everyone doing today? All right, awesome. Well, we are honored and privileged to be with you guys today. And my wife Kaya and I we attend Discovery Baptist Church. And so I know Pastor Lillian and Richard Grabke, we're also part of this church. And so we were so blessed and honored to be a part of their church there. And he blessed me with so much of his time. So we are truly honored and privileged to be with you today and join with you in praising our Lord. And we're excited. I was invited to share some of our testimony. And as Tyson said, my wife Kaya is going to be sharing this afternoon after we have some grub, some hot dogs and hamburgers and whatnot. And she's going to share a little bit of her testimony and bless us in music. And we're going to do a little question and answer period as well for you guys. And we're so excited to bless you. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my testimony, a little bit about my story. And hopefully there's some of that resonates with you because it's all about our journey together with Jesus, right? Amen? And some of you in the community, you're brand new to this, and the whole idea and concept of God might be foreign to you, but we want to reach out to you and bless you and develop a friendship with you and just share with you what we've learned about God, because by no means are we perfect, but man, we love God, and we're all on a journey together. Amen? So, awesome. Well, I'm going to share with you about my story. My story begins on the West Coast in Vancouver, and that's where I was born in Vancouver, raised there for about 4 years. My father played for the BC Lions, and we have any BC Lions fans in the house? Anyone brave enough to raise their hands? Oh, we got some, all right. We got some Riders fans in the house today? Yeah, okay. Awesome. And so keep note of that BC Lion fan over there, okay? We're going to get him later. No food for you. No, just joking. Okay, so so I came, I was born in Vancouver, raised there for 4 years. My dad played for the BC Lions. He was an outside linebacker, so a big, strong, fast guy. And he played there in the 70s. He played with guys like Ray Nettles, Jimmy Young, Dirty 30, if anyone remembers that guy. Lou Pasaglia, he came right after my dad was done the year after that. And so that's where my dad was, and my mom joined him. And actually, my mom is very accomplished as well. She was an Olympic athlete. She was an Olympic gymnast. And she was in 1968 in Mexico and 1972 in Munich. And she placed, she was ninth in the world in gymnastics. And so, we have any gymnastics fans in the house? Anyone love gymnastics? Yeah, we got some people over there. All right, some cheers. And so, that's what my mom did. And so, I got some genes, huh? Right? So I've been blessed with that for sure. And some hard work definitely ingrained into me, right? And so, so we were on the West Coast, grew up there for 4 years, and then we moved to Toronto. That's where my parents were born. That's where our extended family is from. And so we wanted to be there with my family, my grandparents and whatnot, so they could be with their grandkids. And so we moved to Oakville, which is a suburb of Toronto. And my parents had happy feet. We moved from Oakville to Milton, out into the country, to Guelph. And I attended all different kinds of schools. I went to Oakville Christian School. I went to Crestwood Christian School in Guelph. And then I attended Woodland Christian High School. That's near Kitchener. I don't know if anyone has ever heard of that. But, okay, awesome. Giddy up. And so I went to high school out there and Christian high school and all that kind of stuff. And I remember when I graduated from there, it was like 1999-ish or so. And I had a decision to make. I grew up playing all kinds of sports. Who here obviously loves football? Any football lovers? Right? Okay. How about hockey? Anyone love hockey? Yeah, we got some hockey lovers. Okay. How about soccer? Any soccer players? Yeah, a little bit. Okay. Tennis, golf, anyone like that? Kind of, sort of. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I played all the sports as a kid, okay? And I just loved it, man. That was my outlet, was sports. And I remember actually, kind of before that too was when Nintendo came out. Right? Anyone remember Nintendo? Right? The old school, right? Yeah, we got some lovers, okay? And I remember playing lots of that, and my mom kicked me out. She said, "Son, you were not made for this. You better get out there and do something else," right? I remember her telling me, as an Olympic athlete, when she was 14, 15 years old, she was training about 5 hours a day to be in the Olympics. 5 hours a day, right? 2 hours before school, and then, 3, 4 hours after school. Every day, right, to be an Olympic athlete, to be the prime representative of Canada, right? That's some pretty intense training, yes? And so that whole duck hunt wasn't really working out for Mom, right? So she kicked me out of the house, and I started playing all the sports, right? And I loved that. I loved it. And so I remember when I graduated from high school, I was the varsity setter on the volleyball team. And then I remember some nights was crazy. I would have, the school would end, and really I only showed up to school for sports. Okay. And any young kids can, relate with that, right? School was okay, right? But I loved the sports, right? And so I remember I showed up to school and go to school, and as soon as that bell hit, man, it was on. And we had volleyball practice, and then that went on for an hour and a half, and then I got a ride to football practice, and then my parents came and picked me up. I went home for a quick bite to eat, and then I went to hockey practice. And then I got home at 11:30, right? Do you think the homework got done that night? No, all right, not really. And so, but that's okay. And I remember, man, I loved sports, loved it. It was my outlet. And I remember as well, I'll share a little bit with you about my Christian walk as well. As my parents came to the Lord through a ministry called Athletes in Action. Anyone ever heard of Athletes in Action? Right? Awesome ministry. And my father one year, he made the All-Star team as an outside linebacker. And so back in those days, the NFL played against the CFL All-Star teams. And so they played against each other. And so they had an Athletes in Action event, and that's where my dad came to the Lord. And my mom was there with him, and later that night she came to the Lord as well. And so that was totally an awesome outreach for my family. And then so I grew up in a Christian environment, in a Christian home. And I remember my father at a very young age started saying, "Okay, Michael, you need to start reading the Bible every night before you go to bed," right? Every night. And so that was when I was 8, 9. By the time I was 11, 12, I was pretty much there. I was, enveloped in the Word, every night, just reading a chapter a night. Nothing big, nothing crazy, just about 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes a night. Just reading and studying and all those kinds of things. And so, I grew up loving the Lord. Anyone grow up loving the Lord? Right? Yeah, we have some people that, man, love the Lord for all of life, man. And, so high school, I remember my goal was to play hockey. I remember I quit playing football. I was doing too much. Volleyball, football, and hockey. And I ended up quitting playing football, and I focused on hockey. And my goal was to get a scholarship to the States. That was my goal, man. And I worked on it hard, man. I wanted to be in the NHL, right? Little Theo Fleury, right? Little short guy. And that was my goal. So I remember looking at a place called Calvin College. Anyone heard of that? Christian University in Grand Rapids. And that's where I wanted to go. My goal was to get a scholarship and to play hockey, and that just didn't work out. And so I remember the summer of 1999, and I was just, all right, Lord, now what? Now what do I got to do? I have 2 months left in the summer, and I have no idea what I'm doing next. And my mom, I remember before I went down to Grand Rapids, my mom and I, I'd applied to a couple different universities, and I got accepted to Guelph. Anyone heard of MU University, right? Guelph, that's where it's the agricultural school. And so I remember, practicing and the sweet aroma of manure hailing over while we were practicing, right? Isn't that great? Little motivation, right? It's a little protein in the air, right? You know what I'm saying? It's all good, right? And so, I remember I said, "Okay, Mom, let's go to University of Guelph." And so I went in and got in my classes. And at that point, my mom said, "Okay, Michael, now what? Now what do you want to do? What do you want to play? What's your passion?" And I said, that hockey thing is over, man. Let's try football again. And so I remember the coach remembered me when I was a young athlete, and he said, "Yeah, you know what? Come on out, man. Come play football." So I tried out for the team, and I was the fastest guy there, so they put me into receiver. I remember, man, the first day I was trying to figure out how you put the pads in the pants. Right? Anyone ever tried that? It's actually kind of complicated. It's not as easy as you think, putting those, right? You got skin tight pants on, you're trying to put the pads in there. It doesn't exactly fit all the time. So I was trying to figure it out, right? And I remember the big offensive lineman guys looking at me being like, "You're part of this team? You're crazy," right? I said, "Oh, it's all good, man." So I figured out how to do all that stuff again. And then I started practicing and playing, and I developed a passion very quickly. And I remember first year university, I was the rookie of the year. And then the second year, I became a starter. In the first game, I scored 2 touchdowns, a kickoff return for a touchdown, and a play-action fake long bomb for a touchdown. And I was hooked, man, from then on, man. And I remember my father took me to a CFL game. It was the Toronto Argonauts versus the BC Lions. And that's when I caught the fire, man. That's when I caught the dream. Anyone here have a dream? Does anyone have a dream? Anyone have dreams and goals and things they want to achieve in life? Man, I caught the dream, man. I was so excited. And I said, Dad, man, I want to play. I want to play pro football. And my dad said, you know what, son? You can, but you have a lot of work to do. Because at that time, I was 155 pounds soaking wet, man. I was skin and bone. I was lean. And so my dad said, okay, Michael, here's the key now. Here's the key to success, Michael, that you have to master is success is found in the little things that you do every day. And so I'm not going to tell you that you got to hibernate yourself and you got to get away from everything, but you have to find a way where every day you can work on your craft. Every day you can develop your skill. Every day you can work out and get a little bit better. And that's what I've learned success is all about, man. The little steps we do every day that add up to something great. And so I remember, man, I went into the gym and oftentimes it was me alone. It was 10 o'clock at night. It was just me in the gym, man. But I had a passion. I had a dream. I had a goal. I had a vision for my life. And so, man, I started working hard and I got All-Star the second year, All-Star the third year, All-Star the fourth year. And, man, had a lot, man, it was a great time. And I remember I entered the draft. And here's how the draft works in the CFL. It's basically, well, at the time that I was drafted, it's basically like a conference call. And you call in and you can put it on speakerphone. And so what my friends and I did, it was actually my friend's idea, is we called in, we bought a speakerphone, we called in and we pretended that we were part of the Guelph Tribune. When we called in, we just want to report on the, right? And so we heard it live. And so we heard the draft live and the first round went by, and I'm like, okay, Lord, let's go, right? I'm going to get drafted first overall and all this. And the first round went by. I said, okay, no problem, man. Second round. Second round went by. Third round went by. Fourth round went by. And I'm thinking, Lord, maybe this isn't it. Maybe it's not designed to happen. And then I remember the fifth round, third last overall, right? It was the sixth round. Yeah, sixth round. And I was drafted third last, 49th overall in the draft. But I got my pinky toe in the door, you know what I'm saying? And I busted it wide open. And I got drafted by the Toronto Argonauts. My mom and dad, they were listening in too. And so my mom was going crazy. She's really full of energy, right? Gymnast, right? You know what I'm saying? Full of life. And so she was screaming her head off and all excited. And we talked on the phone and I got drafted. It was a dream come true. And so I remember going to training camp and man, it was difficult. It was tough, right? The pro level. Now you're back at the bottom of the ladder and you got to learn all over again. And so I just went in there, man, with the joy of the Lord in my heart. And, man, I had, long shaggy hair and I just went in and just gave it my all. And once you know it, that first year, man, I made the team. And it was a victory, man. It was a victory. So that was exciting. So that was 2003. So I played 2003 and 2004. And both off seasons, I went back and finished my degree. Anyone in here finished school, got a degree? Anybody? Yeah? Anyone ever gone to school and quit? Yeah, I got some of those people. Yeah, that's cool, man. I've been there. I've considered doing that too, so it's all good. And but I remember graduating in 2005 and 2003, and then 2004 was when Ken Austin came. Any Ken Austin fans in the house? Yeah, we got some Ken Austin fans. All right. And Ken Austin came, and he brought his offense with him, and Damon Allen came, and Ken Miller was there too. And so we were all there, and man, we worked hard that year. I remember, like, almost halfway through the season, we were like 3-5. And I was telling my friends, man, we're going to win the Grey Cup this year, man. We can do it. We got the team, man. We can do it. And all my friends were like, yeah, whatever, right? The Argo who, right? The Argonauts, right? Not, right? It's not going to happen. And so, but I was like, no, man, it's going to happen. And we just worked, man. We worked a little bit every day. We worked hard, and we did it, man. We were in Ottawa, Grey Cup championship. My friends were there. My family was there. And once you know it, man, we won, man. And it was a big-time victory, and it was a lot of fun. And so that was 2004, Grey Cup champions. And then 2005 and 2006. And my goal was always to be a starter. I wanted to be an all-star. I want to be a starter, man. I want to represent. And so, man, I worked hard, and I had opportunities, and it just never seemed to work out. And so 2007, I remember I was released. And that was the year that Ken Austin and Ken Miller came to Saskatchewan. You guys remember that? And so they came over, and they told me that they had tried to trade for me early in the year to bring me up. And but that didn't happen. So then halfway through the season after the Labor Day, or right before the Labor Day game, the Argonauts released me, and the Rough Riders got me for free. So I came over here 72 hours later. That was crazy, man. I was released, went through all the emotion of that, and then I was here where I didn't know anybody, right? I knew 2 coaches, but anyone know you don't really hang out with coaches after practice, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't really know anybody. So I came, and that was a chance for me to get my life right, man, and just figure things out. And came here in 2007, and wouldn't you know it, we won the cup, right? Wasn't that an exciting year? Did anyone follow that, right? Wasn't that great? And where did we win the championship? In Toronto, right? It was pretty cool, right? All my friends and family were there again, and man, that was such an exciting journey to come here. You guys remember the game where Kerry Joseph? Remember he was about 30 yards out. It was like, I think it was 3rd down, and he dropped back, and then he ran through the middle and ran for like 30 yards for the touchdown against Winnipeg. You guys remember that? I came right after that game. Okay, yeah. So I watched that game on TV. It was a great game, right? And then I came right after that game, and so boom, came in and we went to Winnipeg and just battled it out, man. We battled all year. And remember when we went to BC Place Stadium and we won there, right? That was a great victory. That was a lot of fun. It was great to be a part of that and have some catches. And then I remember flying back, and it was like 1 a.m. We arrived at the airport, and there was like thousands of people at the airport. Was anyone in the crowd there when we came back? Anybody? Oh, man, it was nuts, man. Crazy Riders fans. Dressed up, flags everywhere, people yelling and screaming. You couldn't hear anything, cameras everywhere, and signing autographs and all that stuff, man. It was like heroes, man. It was awesome, and it was so great to be a part of that. And then 2 days later, we flew into Toronto, and we went there and battled it out, and we won the cup, man. Anyone here, was anyone there in Toronto? Did anyone fly there? Anybody? Got some hands, few hands? Yeah, a few people flew there. That was fun, huh? Right? Oh, man, it was such a great time. Green and white everywhere and all over the crowd, and man, it was so great. It was so great to be a part of my family with that. And so 2008 came and played again. And then 2009, I was released with the signing of Jason Claremont. And, man, he's a great player. I don't really know him too well, but he's a great guy and such a, been a blessing. He's a hometown guy. And so that's when I really went through a lot of personal growth. And that's when I had a lot of alone time. Because I remember 2009, after Christmas 2008, I drove here, and my plan was to train all offseason and get ready for training camp. And I remember 3 days after I got here, I got the call from Ken Mellon. He said, "Michael, I apologize, but we've decided to release you." And that's when I had kind of that, now what, right? I came all the way here to train, and now I'm not playing anymore. And so that's when I had a lot of soul searching to do. And you know what I decided to do? I decided to stay here because I wanted to figure my life out. I wanted to figure things out. Right, and so that's pretty much the glamour story, right? Oh, Grey Cup championships, played in the CFL, all this kind of stuff. And then that's when I really had to figure things out as a man, and that's when things weren't so glamorous. And so I remember that year, 2009, I went through a lot of lonely times. I went through a lot of time to myself because once you're outside of playing football, you don't really stay in touch with a lot of those so-called friends. I don't know if anyone of you guys has gone through that, but you start to learn that the people that you thought were friends were not really real friends. And you start to figure out who your true friends are in life. And it boiled down to it. I really had about 4 solid friends, and that was about it. But everyone else was all, part of the hype, right? And so I figured things out. Anyone ever been lonely? Anyone ever been lonely? Man, it's a tough place to be, isn't it, right? But you know what I wanted to do is I wanted to figure out who God said I was. Because I went through a lot of tough times. Anyone in here ever heard of John Maxwell? John Maxwell, anybody? He's a leadership guy. He used to be a pastor in the States in the 60s and 70s, and he talks about leadership and all of his principles he's gotten from the Bible. And I started diving into personal growth, man. I wanted to grow as a man. And you know what I learned that he says? He says, if you guys want to know where you're going to be in 5 years, you look at 2 things in your life. Number 1, you look at the books that you read. And number 2, you look at the people that you hang out with. And that was truth to me. Because I looked at the people that I had been hanging out with, and I had developed some negative association. I had become friends, just fair weather friends, people that you hang out with because you do the same things, that were not living their life right. And as a result, I began to not live my life right, and I developed some negative habits. So for me to come here in 2009 and be alone and isolated was actually healing for me, because I wanted to figure out who God said I was as a man. And so any of you men out there, man, you want to know who God says you are as a man? Man, that's where I was at, man. And so, I dove into the Word. I dove into personal growth. I had a lot of nights of crying myself to sleep, man, because I wanted to be a part of the team, right? I wanted to be a part of the movement. But that wasn't the plan for me. And so, man, it was tough, man. So I was really lonely and, just figuring life out. And I remember I just had such a passion in my heart I wanted to be married to an amazing woman. And so I remember just, searching God and saying, God, what do I want in a woman? I remember I wrote down 6 things. I wrote this down on paper. I said, I want a woman who loves God with all of her heart, soul, and mind. A woman who's loyal, graceful, classy, athletic, and beautiful. And I prayed those things out every day, man. I prayed those things out every day. And I remember I didn't date. I didn't do none of that stuff. I just wanted to be like David, right? I wanted to be a man of God. David was crazy in love with God, right? I mean, he was, from weeping to dancing naked in front of God, right? And so I don't know if I danced naked in front of God, okay? But, I was a man after God's heart, man. And I wanted to love God. And so I remember praying for a woman in 2009 Christmas. I remember I prayed all that year, 2009, and going through the struggle and of being alone and learning who God said I was. And I wanted to develop confidence in myself. But I remember that I had placed my identity in what football said I was. So now I had to place my identity in who God said I was. And that was completely different for me. It wasn't what, football, you're in the spotlight and you're this and you're that and everyone caters to you. And so you develop your identity from that and you develop an ego. But what I wanted, the opposite of ego, I wanted to develop confidence. It's the opposite. And so I started learning what God said I was. And I remember I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And then I met my beautiful bride, Kaya. And we met online through friends, started developing a friendship and a relationship. And I remember just feeling so in tune with God. And I remember 3 weeks into our friendship, we were talking on the phone and we had a 2-3 hour conversation. And she asked to pray for me. And she prayed for me. And that was when I knew, man, I could feel her spirit. And I just said, man, that's the woman for me. And so I pursued her hard every day. Any of you guys ever been there? Right, I called her every day, right? She was talking to me whether she wanted to or not. That was it. And so I pursued her hard, and we started talking on the phone and texting and all that stuff. And then we got the phone bill, right? Anyone been there? Right? And then we found Skype, right? Anyone know about Skype? And then we could see each other. And I remember very quickly we started reading the Word together every night. Man, any of you couples, man, that want to grow closer, it is so powerful to have 5 minutes a night or 10 minutes to read the Word together. Just a chapter a night. And then to talk about it and pray together and then go to bed. And that's what we started doing just as we were dating. And we got through, what did we get through? We got through Psalms and Proverbs. We got through James, Hebrews. Yeah, that was about it. And then we got married, right? And so a lot of growth, right? You know what I'm saying? And so, man, let me encourage you, man, you couples, that you guys want to grow together, man. Read the Word together, man. It's so powerful. Just a chapter a night to grow together and then to talk about what did you get from it? Oh, what did you get from it? Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Now I see it from your light. That makes sense. And then we prayed together. We did that all over Skype, right? So it was powerful. And I remember one of the things that Kaya really did that really was powerful for me is we set physical boundaries. And that was something brand new for me. So that when we did see each other, that we would have boundaries. And it was cool because another thing that came into the picture was the question of commitment. And I think a lot of people think that commitment means the end of freedom. But can I speak a word to you, man? Commitment is the beginning of freedom. That's where freedom begins. Because when you are committed and you set boundaries, there's freedom in that, right? There's freedom in that. Yeah, and so, I committed to her within 3 weeks, but it took time for her, right? But I made it certain for her that she couldn't commit to anyone else. And so, yeah, we saw each other, and then we were dating, and then 3 months later I asked her to marry me, and by the time we got married, we had been physically together for about 17 days. And so it was quite rapid, but I knew in my heart, man, that God had given this woman to me and me to her. And so it's so passionate. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear her story tonight. Because all of you ladies, she is going to bless you so much. And she's going to bless you in music too. And so you are a huge blessing in my life, and I love you. So, very good. So here we are now. And now it's 2011, and I'm not playing football anymore. But, man, we are rocking business together and working full-time as well. And this is our ministry as well. We love reaching out to people. And so we are so excited to be a part of your church here. And we're going to have some barbecue stuff. And we're going to do a little question and answer afterwards. Kaya's going to come up and give her testimony and bless you in music. And then we're going to do some Q&A. You guys got some questions. We got answers. We're just going to share with you from our hearts and bless you guys. And you don't have to stay if you don't want to, but we're going to welcome you to stay. And I'm at a point right now where Ken Miller actually called me, or he sent me an email right before training camp. because you guys know about the injury to Rob Bagg. He re-injured his knee and stuff, and so Ken Miller invited me to come out and throw the ball around with the guys. And so before training camp, I was out there with who was there? Darian Durant, Jason Claremont, Stu Ford, Weston Dressler, Kerry Koch, a couple of the other guys, and we were out there throwing the ball around. And so they told me to stay in shape if they need me. And so I sent Ken Miller an email yesterday saying, you know, you guys might be at a point that you need me, maybe, right? You know, so let's pray for that. Amen. All right. So I'm training hard. I'm working out, and I'd love to be a part of that organization again. But if not, my point is this: if I'm never a part of football again, the point is this: is that I didn't find my identity in football. My identity now is who God says I am as a man. That's where my identity is. And for those of you that want to know who God says you are, just dive into the Word, man. Dive into the Word. Get some counseling. Get some mentorship. The most powerful thing in my life has been mentorship. Being molded and guided by another man of God who has the things in his life that I want in my life. And so I found that, and now I dive in, and now, we mold our life and our marriage around what God says marriage is. Anyone in here ever read the book called Love and Respect? Anyone ever heard of that? Man, awesome book. If you guys are growing in your marriage, or you're struggling in your marriage, or you're happy in your marriage, it is such an awesome book to read. Love and Respect. Man, get that book and read it. I finished it yesterday. It was a big book, right? But it was so awesome just to learn what God says marriage is and to see it from His eyes. That as men, we are to love our wives the way that Christ loved the church. And as wives, you are to revere your husbands the way that we revere the Lord. And so that understanding, man, has brought such blessing to our marriage. So fired up. So that's my story, and I'm so excited to be here in Regina. It's such a great place to be, and we are blessed.